It's time for my reading wrap up for the month of April. If you're interested in seeing what I read, spoiler alert, it was really good. Just keep watching. My name is Danielle, and it is time for my reading wrap up for the month of April. If you are new here, I am so glad that you decided to stop by my channel. It means so much to me, so thank you for taking your time to do that. And I hope that you will enjoy what you see and you'll want to stick around, get to know me a little, let me get to know you a little by leaving me some comments down below so I can talk back and forth with you. And hopefully you will subscribe and hit your notification bell to all so that you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. Those of you who are coming back, that you just keep coming back because you're that awesome. Thank you so much for being so awesome. I appreciate you so much. And if you've been watching my videos but you aren't yet subscribed, because I see a lot of the people who watch my videos are not actually subscribed, would you please consider doing that? It literally, all you have to do is click a button and it just helps me out a whole heck of a lot. And especially if you like my videos, or if you don't like them, you can dislike it too if you don't like it. That's totally fine too. It lets me gauge how people are vibing with what I'm doing here. So, all right. We're just going to get into this because let me tell you, April was such a good reading month for me. I didn't pick that many books, but I ended up reading way more than I chose for my TBR, and I can't wait to tell you all about them. So I'm going to have my MacBook here, and I'm going to pull up Goodreads so that I can look at what I said in my Goodreads reviews for each of these books, because I admittedly started reading some of these at the end of March. So it's been a while, and my brain just doesn't keep up that much. So yeah, I'm going to check into this and let you know what I said about the books, because I always do my reviews like right after I read them so that everything's fresh in my mind. And I don't do spoilers. I will not spoil anything about these books, so don't worry about that. All right, let's just get into what I read. So actually, the first book that I read for the month, I read when my husband and I were on vacation in Gatlinburg, and it is They Lie in the Woods by H.A. Hathaway. You guys, I'm not really going to say much about this book right now because I'm actually going to do a dedicated video to it. That's how much I loved it and how much I want you to know about it. Yes, this was written by a friend of mine, which actually terrified me a little because I'm like, what if I don't like it? Like, what if there are things that I'm just like, oh gosh, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of a weird position to be in. And while I knew she wouldn't be upset with me, I still am thinking about like, okay, if I put all my heart and soul and time into something and somebody was telling me they don't like it for some reason, it would still be a little soul crushing. And so I was very nervous to read this and give her my feedback. I didn't need to be. I will just go ahead and say right here, this was the first read for the month and it was a 5-star. And I cannot wait to go into great detail about it. I chatted back and forth with her about it and about different themes in the book and things like that. Gave her, I really had like one critique, and it was something she was already aware of, so that was cool. And so yes, I just cannot wait to tell you about this. But my first read for the month of April, They Lie in the Woods by H.A. Hathaway, and it was a 5-star read for me. Also, I blew through that book. So while I was so glad I brought another book with me because I thought I won't have time while we're on vacation to read, but I did have some time while we were there. So being there still at our condo in Gatlinburg, I read Dolly Parton and James Patterson, Run, Rose, Run. This was super fun to read there because we went to Dollywood while we were there, my husband and I did. And so it was really fun to be able to be like in a Dolly kind of place and reading a book that she helped co-write. And you can see glimpses of her in the, main, well, not even just the main character, in 2 of the characters in this book. So that was super fun. So here's what this book is about. A new singer arrives in Nashville. She calls herself Annie Lee Keys, and she has more beauty, talent, and ambition than most, and a dangerous past that she's running from. Her performance of original songs at open mic night at the Cat's Paw Saloon downtown transfixes Ethan Blake, backup musician for country star Ruth Anna Ryder. Ruth Anna may have retired for deeply personal reasons, but that doesn't mean she stopped writing music. Every day she records songs she'll never release. When Ruth Anna hears Annie Lee sing, the legend decides to help the I don't know that word, ingenue? I think that's how you say it. But a boost from a megastar like Ruth Anna may spotlight the talented newcomer's secret. Now Annie Lee may not live long enough to realize her dreams of stardom, or for the world to learn her true identity. So this is what I said about it on Goodreads. This book had so many great elements. I loved the characters and could definitely see Dolly's influence in them. I'm thinking it was probably her that decided to describe someone in the book as ugly as a box of armpits. Like, That totally cracked me up. Who would say ugly as a box of armpits? But that's funny. Because it's like not that mean, but kind of mean, but it's funny mean. I don't know if there's any funny mean, but you know what I mean. It made me laugh. You could see parallels to Dolly and two of the main characters. There is suspense, of course expected when James Patterson is involved, a little romance, and just a great cast of complex characters. I would say the only reason I gave this a 4-star rating, so I'm telling you right now, I gave it a 4-star rating instead of 5, is because I felt like getting to the point of finally finding out what the main character was running from took so long. I found myself getting irritated and impatient. I am all for a good slow burn suspense, but it just felt frustrating as to why the main character wouldn't just tell the people she could trust about what was going on and the damage it was doing to relationships in the process. Other than that, this book was great. I found myself giggling out loud in some parts, which is always something I enjoy. The fact that I read this while we were in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and then went to Dollywood while we were there just made it extra special. So that just tells you what I mean about just my feelings about the book. So yes, definitely a 4-star. I would totally recommend reading this book. And there were elements of it of like making you worry, like you're like, oh, what's going to happen in the situation? You know, like that suspensefulness. And, but just the characters meshing with each other, the funny things that happened. Like I said, I literally giggled out loud sometimes. Yeah, I said giggled. I giggle, okay? Cheerful people giggle. And so I just really enjoyed it. So I would definitely recommend, if it was something you were thinking about reading, go ahead and read it because I think you'll enjoy it. The next book that I read was once we were back home from vacation. And this was Fight or Flight by Fern Michaels. I actually won this in a Goodreads giveaway and I was so super excited about it. Let me tell you what it is about and then we'll get into what I thought of it. From the comfort of her beautiful mountaintop retreat, Katherine Winston creates her best-selling young adult series, Girls with Unusual Powers. No one in the nearby small town has any idea of her true identity. To them, she's just the reclusive woman on the mountain, and Katherine is grateful to be left alone. It wasn't always this way. Though her parents were as neglectful as they were wealthy, Katherine built up a busy, full life. Then tragedy struck, and she retreated, panic-stricken at the idea of engaging with anyone again. Aside from her 2 faithful dogs who provide companionship and security, Katherine mostly interacts with people anonymously online through reader fan pages. Now one of those fans appears to be in danger, and Katherine desperately wants to help. But that means moving beyond her isolated world for the first time in years. More and more, Katherine just can't shake the feeling that some of her fears may be justified. Someone is watching her, she's sure of it, and they're getting closer all the time. And only by leaving her self-imposed exile can she hope to find the answers she needs, the courage to trust again, and an unexpected new beginning. So it sounded definitely like something I was going to be really interested in. This woman, you know, she by choice just kind of locked herself away, but something is happening that's making her realize she might need to step out of her fear to be able to help this person, and it just sounded really good. Okay? Sounded really good. Let me tell you what I put on Goodreads about it. So I'll go ahead and just tell you what I rated it. I rated it 3.5 stars. You can't do 3.5 stars on Goodreads, so I think I did rate it 4, which I probably should have done 3, to be honest, because I even think 3.5 might have been generous. I think maybe 3.25 stars would have been better. Did I change it? No, I do have 3.5 on here. Here's why. I would technically give this book 3.5 stars if Goodreads had those rankings. The setting for this book was exactly the type of place I loved. The description of the main character's daily life was both delightfully simple and also sad. I felt a connection to that part of her, not personally, just could get a good sense of what her life was like. The main storyline was really good and kept me captivated. Overall, I really liked the book, but there were some major things that I didn't. Basically, I think the main issue is that the book needed to be longer. There needed to be more character development, more time for the characters to meet and develop relationships. That was probably my biggest dislike about the whole book, the majorly and unrealistically rushed relationship that develops between 2 of the characters. Also a disorder that evolves much too quickly to be realistic. It's like everything was just rushed, and in doing so, it took away from the book overall. There could have been so much more development of the characters and storyline, and that would have made the book fantastic. And saying that, this was an enjoyable read, and I liked the story. It just could have been so much better, so it kind of left me feeling like it was rushed and incomplete. That's exactly how I feel about it. It was so rushed. It made no sense. The way... And here's the thing with books. I mean, a lot of times, and if you read fantasy, obviously you know it's not realistic. But I don't expect books to be absolutely realistic. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care if there's a little something that's like, yeah, that's a little far-fetched, but whatever, you know. But this was like so over the top because there was a relationship between the main character and someone else that evolved so quickly. I'm not even kidding you guys. It's like she's been this recluse for all this time and then meets somebody, and it's like, I said I wasn't going to use spoilers, so I won't really say more. It's just ridiculous. And then with having like the, you know, being a recluse and having this panic disorder, there's things that just are resolved a little too quickly for it to be realistic. And so it left me feeling kind of like annoyed by it. It was too rushed. The book was too, I mean, look at it. It's not, I mean, it's a very short book for the most part. Let's see how many pages it is. 256 pages. I guess that's not a small book, but it's just, it was rushed. She could have done so much more to give you an idea of these characters. So if you are someone who is character driven when you read, you will not like it because it's just way too vague and way too many of the characters. So 3.5 stars. Honestly, maybe 3.25. I don't even know for sure. I'd say between 3.25 and 3.5. And that's, you know, one of the lowest books. I feel like I'm very generous in my ratings, but that I finished it and I was like kind of annoyed. And that's not how I want to feel when I finish a book. So can't win them all. My next read for the month was Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. This was my first experience with Lisa Jewell, so I was very excited to get into it because I know she is a you know, highly spoken of author, and I have a lot of friends who enjoy reading her books. And actually this one was one my friend Heather had sent me, the same one who wrote that first book I was talking about. Down in the description box, I will have a link to her book and also to the Bookish junk journals that she makes. They are available on Amazon for you, and they come in 3 different colorways. And so I have those linked down there for you if you want to check them out. But anyway, she sent this to me in a fun book package that she sent me, and I will link that video up here if you haven't seen it and would like to check it out. But yeah, so I was really excited to get into Lisa Jewell. So here's what this is about. Ellie Mack was the perfect daughter, and then she was gone. 10 years after Ellie's disappearance, her mother, Laurel Mack, is trying to put her life back together when she meets an unexpectedly charming man in a cafe. Before she knows it, she's meeting Floyd's daughters, and his youngest, Poppy, takes Laurel's breath away. Because the eerily precocious Poppy is the spitting image of Ellie. And now the unanswered questions she's tried so hard to put to rest begin haunting Laurel anew. Where did Ellie go? Did she run away from home as the police have long suspected, or did something more sinister happen? So, this book is creepy. This is just creepy. So I didn't say a whole lot. I just said, okay, this was a wild one. Definitely a darker theme than a lot of the suspense thrillers I've read, but so dang good. So many characters that give you the ick. I was intrigued from start to finish. I really enjoyed the main character and the rawness and honesty of the things she was feeling. I felt so many emotions throughout this book, and that's always a positive to me. There were a couple of literal jaw-dropping moments. I would definitely check trigger warnings if you're sensitive to certain topics, but otherwise, I highly recommend reading this book. So yes, definitely check trigger warnings because it's dark. But I've heard that Lisa Jewell is dark, and I don't mind that. Now, I think if it was something that I had a personal experience with, it would obviously, I would feel different about it. But, oh my gosh, it was so good. So this was my second 5-star read for the month. This just, I was so captivated by this. I couldn't put it down. It was so dang good. So I am so happy that this was my first Lisa Jewell experience, and that it was so positive, because now I can't wait to read more of her books. So the next book I read was completely different than the other ones for the month, and this was The Woman Who Watches Over the World by Linda Hogan. This is a memoir, and it's a Native American memoir of this woman talking about her childhood and growing up and the things that she faced, the hurt of her people from what had been done to them over the generations. And just her dad was in the military, and what it was like, you know, for her in that sense as well, and living in a different country and then coming back, and just all of the different things that she faced. And then alcoholism was a real problem for her and several people in her family, which, if you know anything about, that is a common thing in a lot of Native American culture. And it was so raw, and so you could just feel her angst. And I don't want to spoil things, but she adopted 2 daughters, and kind of just what goes on with them, and the way it's written is just so beautiful. It's not like just a continuous like flowing story. I don't really know how to explain it. It's just so good. Yeah. So on Goodreads, I simply said this: simply heartbreaking and beautiful. A life filled with so much devastation and sadness in some respects, yet so incredibly beautiful in so many others. I greatly enjoyed this memoir. And I wasn't really sure how I was going to feel about a memoir, but I've always been very interested in Native American culture. And so it was something that just caught my eye, and I thought I would give it a try. And I'm so glad that I did. I did end up giving this a 4-star, just because it wasn't like when I read a book and I'm like, oh, I can't get enough of this. It did take me a little bit longer, even though it's a shorter book, a little bit longer to read. And I think just because it was so raw and emotional and personal, and so it's not like a light, easy read, but I definitely think it was worth reading and gave like a really good insight to her life and what a lot of other people in her position have kind of gone through. And so I definitely think if you are somebody who enjoys memoirs and likes to hear about, you know, different people's lives, I would definitely give this one a chance, because I thought it was really beautiful. And it's not very long. It's just, yeah, it was a special book, and I'm so glad that I read it. Now, the next book I read was actually on my Kindle. Let me share something really fun with you guys, because if you're readers and you have a Kindle, you'll find this amusing. I still have my original Kindle that I got in 2010. Okay, let me show you. This is the case I got when I got it. I mean, here we are. I've got the ever so awesome book light that's powered by the Kindle through the case. Okay. Like, this thing, I pulled this out of the closet. I hadn't used it in years, and the battery was completely dead on it. So I went on Amazon, I ordered a new battery for 20 bucks, and she works like she's brand new. So I don't see the need to get a new Kindle, because this one works just fine, and I actually have really enjoyed reading on it. So I thought that was funny, and I thought you might appreciate it if you're a Kindle person yourself. But just, I mean, seriously, it's so good. Why would I need a newer one? Anyway, so this actually was a book that I was given a complimentary copy of from Voracious readers only. It's an online, I will put it down below for you in the description box, actually, if there's anybody who would be interested in it. And you can request, you know, like reader copies, whatever, and they're all on Kindle. And so I got this one, and the book is called Not Your Child by, I don't know if it's Liz or Lise Angus, but wow. So Not Your Child is about Ottawa psychologist and single mother Susan Cost discovers that a strange man has been following her 12-year-old daughter, Maddie. She fears he's a predator, but it's worse than that. The man, Daniel Kazan, believes Maddie is his granddaughter, abducted as a baby, and he's obsessed with getting her back. Susan insists on a DNA test to disprove Daniel's claim, but the result is one she can't understand or explain. It says she's not Maddie's mother. Then Maddie vanishes. Susan's convinced Daniel has taken her, but he has an alibi, and 2 searches of his house turn up nothing. The hunt is on, police are on full mobilization, and Susan fears the worst. It's a good one. So here's what I said on Goodreads. This book brought so many things to life so well. From preteen angst and strained parent-child relationships, the things that grief and guilt will cause people to think and do, the dangers of being naive, etc. This book portrayed them all so well. There were so many great twists and turns that kept me fully engaged with the story, waiting for answers and reveals. The final element revealed at the end was shocking. I'm so thankful I was given a complimentary copy from the author via Voracious readers only, because this was a book I thoroughly enjoyed reading. I totally did. I knew with the way that it sounded that I'd be interested in it, but I ended up liking it so much. And just, yeah, it was so creepy. You're feeling like from this mom's point of view, but also from the main protagonist, I would say, his point of view. And it was just so good. And just all those different elements, like I said, of like what grief and guilt will cause you to do and make you like kind of ignore things because you're so consumed, and just, oh my gosh, yeah, definitely. It was a 5-star read. I loved it. And so I would highly recommend checking it out if those are the types of books you're interested in. And that one was not on my TBR that I showed for my April TBR. It was something I added extra, and I'm so glad that I did. Next up was actually a reread for me. This was on my TBR for the month, and it was A Cold Day in Paradise by Steve Hamilton. And this is part of the Alex McKnight series. It's actually the first book in the Alex McKnight series, and I have the first 3 books, but I had only ever read this one, and then it was a couple of years since I have, and so I was like, you know what, I want to read it again before I get into the other ones, and I'm so glad that I reread it. So let me tell you what it's about. Other than the bullet lodged near his heart, former Detroit cop Alex McKnight thought he had put the nightmare of his partner's death and his own near-fatal injury behind him. After all, the man convicted of the crimes has been locked away for years. But in the small town of Paradise, Michigan, where McKnight has traded his badge for a cabin in the woods, a murderer with the same unmistakable trademarks appears to be back. McKnight can't understand who else would know the intimate details of the old murders, and it seems like it'll be a frozen day in hell before McKnight can unravel truth from deception in a town that's anything but paradise. And so, so the reason I actually picked up this copy from Barnes & Noble, and it was like back when they would have like a table with $5 books. I haven't seen anything like that in a long time at my Barnes & Noble. Do they still have those? There would be like $5 and $6 like books like this, and or like anywhere from $5 to $8, I feel like. And mine has not had that in a very long time. But I had picked this up from one of those tables because it was based in Michigan, and I live in Michigan. And so I was like, ooh, I want to read this because I've been literally all over the state, lower and upper peninsula, all my life, camping and everything. So I love when I can actually picture the places, like the actual places. And so that was what drew me to this book. And I loved it. I loved it the first time I read it. And guess what? I loved it again. So I ended up giving that also a 5-star review. You guys, I had such a good reading month. And so let me tell you what I said about it on Goodreads. This was my second time reading this book because I want to continue on with the series, and it had been a few years since I had read it the first time. I remember loving it then, and I loved it again this time. I live in Michigan, and I love being able to picture the actual places where this book takes place. Not only that, but there is no way you will be able to predict the twists and turns this book will take. I love that even though it's part of a series, there's a conclusion and resolution to the main case happening in this book, and it's nothing you will be able to figure out ahead of time. This is my perfect kind of suspense thriller, and now I can't wait to get into the other books in this series. You guys, I'm not even kidding. There's no way you'll be able to figure out what's going to happen in this. And like I said, even though it's part of a series, I'm so glad there was a conclusion to the case that's happening here. And I think that's how each of the books are going to be, almost where they could stand alone, because it's going to be like a case in each book, but following Alex McKnight. And so I absolutely love this. If you love series, so he's like a police officer that now has become a private investigator, and he gets kind of wrapped into this case that's happening, but then it takes on a very personal thing for him, and it's just, it's so good. And I actually had kind of forgotten what some of the twists and turns were, so it was exciting to me all over again because it was just that good. Like, definitely check it out. So that was the end of my actual TBR for the month, besides the fact that I had read Not Your Child, was an extra also. But then I have been rereading the Hunger Games series because I never ended up reading Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and then of course Sunrise on the Reaping just recently came out, and I really want to read both of them, but I wanted to go back because it's been a very long time since I read the first 3, and I wanted to reread them. So that has been kind of something I've been adding on extra in the months once I'm done with my other TBR. And so this month I read Mockingjay, so now I am all caught up on my Hunger Games series, the trilogy. And I'm not going to, just like last month, I'm not going to give you like the synopsis of the book because it will give spoilers for the first 2 kind of, or could. Anyway, I will just tell you what I said on Goodreads about this. Oh, and I read it on my 2010 Kindle. I said, this book is disturbing, infuriating, devastating, and so incredibly good. As far as the trilogy goes, this is by far the most depressing of the 3, but it's equally as captivating. The imagery is so palpable. Suzanne Collins definitely knows how to pull you in and immerse you in the atmosphere and relationships with the characters. Even though this was my second time reading this book, It was just as good, and I was just as sad to get to the end. And that is the truth. Like, it being kind of the conclusion of that story. Now, the other books are prequels. And so the other books are the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is about President Snow. So going back in the past and talking about him, like how he came to be who he is. Ooh. And then Sunrise on the Reaping is about Haymitch. And so that's going to be cool to go back and see his story and how we know that he was in the games, and that's how he became a mentor for Katniss and Peeta. And so that's going to be going back and showing like his life leading up to the games and being in them and that kind of thing. And so I am very, very excited to get into those books. But there was like that same kind of sadness again, I kind of forgot about when I read the trilogy the first time to get to the end of it this time. I was kind of that same thing, like, I'm not ready to let these characters go. Like, and I think that is a true sign of a fantastic series or even just a fantastic book when you get to the end of the book and you're actually sad, like you feel like you're saying goodbye to these characters. And that's just a very unique and special thing that some authors are able to do very well. And I felt like Suzanne Collins definitely did that with these characters. So I'm very excited to be able to get into those other two books that are the prequels now and see about that. And I hope she's not done. I hope she'll like continue somehow, like, because yeah, I really, really enjoy these characters. So that was a 5-star easily. Again, another 5-star. Even though I don't love it as much as the first two in the trilogy, I still really, really love it. And I can't imagine giving it anything less than 5 stars. And then, since I still had even more time to read some books before the end of the month, I ended up picking up, I was at my mom and dad's at Christmas time, and I saw my mom had one of the Frida McFadden, Housemaid series books on her nightstand, and I said something to her about it, and she said, I just can't really get into it. And I'm like, well, Mom, might be because it's the third book in the series. I hadn't read the series, so I didn't know, but I did know that it was the third book. And she's like, so this was before Christmas, because then for Christmas, I got her the first two in the series. And so she had already read those, so she sent them over my way and was like, okay, my youngest sister was like, okay, when you're done, send them to me, kind of thing. And so I finally, since I had finished my reading for the month plus some, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and read these. This is my first experience with Frida McFadden, and I have heard this is some of her best work, and I can see why people really like it. So first off is The Housemaid, and let me tell you what it says. Every day I clean the Winchesters' beautiful house top to bottom. I pick up their daughter from school, and I cook a delicious meal for the whole family before heading up to eat alone in my tiny room on the top floor. I try to ignore how Nina makes a mess just to watch me clean it up, how she tells strange lies about her own daughter, and how her husband, Andrew, seems more broken every day. But as I look into Andrew's handsome brown eyes, so full of pain, it's hard not to imagine what it would be like to live Nina's life. The walk-in closet, the fancy car, the perfect husband. I try on one of Nina's pristine white dresses once, just to see what it's like, but she soon finds out, and by the time I realize my attic bedroom door only locks from the outside, it's far too late. But I reassure myself, the Winchesters don't know who I really am. They don't know what I'm capable of. Okay, so let me tell you what I said on Goodreads. Whoa, what a ride. The psychological aspect of this book was so good, and I never could have imagined how things were going to go. The characters were so complex. The way things played out were something I never could have predicted, and that's what I love most in a suspense thriller. I finished this in a little over a day, and I'm starting the second one in the series immediately. So yes, I started reading this in the evening, and I finished it the next day. And like, my husband's like, seriously? But I could not put this down. I'm like eating, well, this way because I have to eat with my right hand while I'm reading. I mean, I just could not put this down. It was so good. This is totally a 5-star read to me. Like I said, because I couldn't put it down, and because I never could have expected the crazy, crazy twists and turns in this book. So if you have not read these, if you want to dip into the suspense thriller genre and you get these, like, they're a very easy read. Like, I mean, they're creepy, so maybe check some trigger warnings, I don't know, but if you're not sensitive to things, just pick them up. Just don't even think twice about it. Just pick it up and read it. So then, like I said, 5-star read. Let me tell you about The Housemaid's Secret, because I picked this up right when I was done with this. So here's what the second book's about. It's hard to find an employer who doesn't ask too many questions about my past. So I thank my lucky stars that the Garricks miraculously gave me a job, cleaning their stunning penthouse with views across the city and preparing fancy meals in their shiny kitchen. I can work here for a while, stay quiet until I get what I want. It's almost perfect, but I still haven't met Mrs. Garrick or seen inside the guest bedroom. I'm sure I hear her crying. I notice spots of blood around the neck of her white nightgowns when I'm doing laundry, and one day I can't help but knock on the door. When it gently swings open, what I see inside changes everything. That's when I make a promise. After all, I've done this before. I can protect Mrs. Garrick while keeping my own secrets locked up safe. Douglas Garrick has done wrong. He is going to pay. It's simply a question of how far I'm willing to go. Okay, so what I said on Goodreads. At first I wasn't sure I was going to like this one as much as the first book, but I was wrong. Once again, the twists and turns were nothing I could have anticipated. I love the aspect of developing relationships between some of the original characters. I finished the first book in a day and a half, and this one in a day. I can't wait to get my hands on the last one. So this one actually is slightly longer than the first one, and I read this even faster than this one. Like, I just ate it up. Literally read it while I was eating again. Like, I just couldn't put it down. And it's just so, like, creepy and twisted and weird. And I'm so amazed at these scenarios that people can come up with that haven't been done a million times over. I read a lot of suspense thrillers, and like, it was just so good, both of them. And so I definitely gave this a 5-star also, because how could I not? And I can't wait to read the third one. But my mom, I was just at her house the other day, and there sat the third book, and she's like, yeah, I still haven't read that yet. And then she just had eye surgery yesterday. So tell me when she's going to read this book. Doesn't she know that I'm sitting here waiting for it? I'm just kidding. It wasn't a serious eye surgery, so hopefully she heals up quick and can read it. I'm gonna be like, come on, Mom, read that book so I can have it. Actually, she would probably let me go over and just take it and read it and give it back to her. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed those. So glad I got to both of them, and now I will be passing them on to my sister so she can enjoy them. And then she'll probably pass them on to my other sister, because we all like to read, and yeah, why not share the fun, right? So that was my reading wrap up for the month of April. Yeah, it was long, but it was a lot of good stuff. So like I said, They Lie in the Woods by H.A. Hathaway. I will be doing a full in-depth review on that. Run, Rose, Run by Dolly Parton and James Patterson. Super fun. So 5-star, 4-star. Fight or Flight by Fern Michaels. 3.25 to maybe 3.5 stars. Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. 5-star. The Woman Who Watches Over the World by Linda Hogan, and this was a 4-star. Then I read on my Kindle Not Your Child by Lys Angus, and that was 5-star. And then I read A Cold Day in Paradise by Steve Hamilton, 5-star, which was a reread for me. Mockingjay from the Hunger Games, read on my Kindle, 5-star. And then The Housemaid and The Housemaid's Secret, both 5 stars. So let me know what you think. Have you read any of these? How do you feel in comparison to how I felt? Like, are you like, no, not matching up with what you thought of those books? Or you're like, yes, I'm right with you there. I'd love to hear it. Let's have a discussion down below. And thank you guys so much for watching, taking your time out of your day to spend a little of it with me. I appreciate it so much. So thank you, and I will talk to you again very soon. Bye.